Hello and welcome to Fergie's Gum. My name's Nathan Irvine and I'm joined by Mr. Paul Cropper. After 2 weeks off, was it? 2 weeks since the last time we was on the airwaves?
We've been missed, haven't we? I've had people asking, where are you? Where are you? So, yeah, we're back. Love it.
Was that just your
you.
boss at work asking where you were? why
He's
not
always asking that, mate. I turn up here more.
There's been lots that's been going on. I know it's World Cup fever right now, but it still hasn't stopped Manchester United making headlines. And I thought the best place to start right now, even though we were going to start in somewhere very specific with Cropper's Transfer Corner, we're going to park that to the side for just 1 second. But it is transfer related. Just now, it's broke that Marcus Rashford, the clause in his contract with Barcelona, we knew that it was coming to an end. That has officially the £26 million deal that Barcelona had in their obligatory loan clause clause in the contract for Marcus Rashford has expired. It expired last night on Monday. The Athletic's David Ornstein reports now that there is now a £40 million clause on his contract with anyone that's available to all apart from Manchester City and Liverpool, which you can understand. I'm sure Leeds United would be in there as well, but they just don't want their main rivals getting hold of it, which I think is fair. The preference, though, for Marcus Rashford, if you're to believe these reports, is that he would like to stay at Manchester United and honour his 24 months that he has remaining on his contract. Might have something to do with the 300 grand a week that he's on, and he's unlikely to get that anywhere else. But the first question I'm going to ask you, is there a way back for Marcus Rashford at Manchester United?
Yes, I think there is. Will the fans be happy with it? No, I don't think so, because I think 8, 9 out of 10 people that I've spoken to have said no, they wouldn't want him back at Old Trafford. The way he left was under a cloud, wasn't it, which left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. But I think Marcus Rashford feels like he wasn't looked after properly. Whether we're throwing blame at Marcus Rashford or we're throwing blame at management or we're throwing blame at his form or whatever was going on behind the scenes, we don't know the full story. And he is a United lad from Manchester, still says he loves the club. There is a way back, and I feel like Michael Carrick might be the man to put an arm around him. And I'm choosing my words carefully because I'm in the 8 or 9 out of 10 people that wouldn't want it. I prefer a clean cut, crack on. So, but there is an argument there because I've said it before. You can see it happening. I can literally see Marcus Rashford playing on that left hand side, and I think the biggest reason why I can see it is because we need a left winger, and Marcus Rashford is. You just said 40 million there. Can we just? That's pounds. You said, didn't you? You said pounds because I've not seen anything about this. Right? Okay. Can we put? That list of City, Liverpool. Can we put Barcelona in that as well? Can we? No, no. We want 80. We want 80 off you. No.
I don't think they'll be doing any deals with Barcelona ever again. I think John Laporte basically. He's burned all bridges with Manchester United.
It's wrong. I mean, but Betis did it with Anthony, so they've probably seen that blueprint and thought, oh, we can get away with this United. We can bully them. No. I'm glad that's all done with now. No, you're not going there. Don't care if that's your preference to go there. But yeah, to answer your question, Nathan, yes, I think there is a way back. Would it be the route I'd go down? No, not for me.
See, when you're talking about do we need a left winger, and we'll talk more about these later when we talk about the transfers that we're looking at as well. I still don't think we need one. I think there's other areas of the pitch that I would strengthen before that. And if you did get Marcus Rashford back into the team, let me go on record as saying that if you'd have asked me this 12 months ago, I'd have said there's no chance he's coming back. Like he's gone, his head's gone. He doesn't like United anymore. I mean, he's really burned his bridges again. He doesn't fancy it. Fine. off you go to Barcelona. You'd worked for them long enough. You got your move. Decent return for him, to be fair. 14 goals, 11 assists in 49 games. So that's it shows that he can do that. He's done that at United before. Do you know what I mean? He's had a
Hmm.
good return, but then it's the following season and his attitude that made him fall out with the people that were around him. I think there's two things at play here. I think if he came in, we definitely wouldn't need to buy a left winger, 100%, because we'd use him and we'd use Patrick Dorgu on the left hand side and Cunha, and even Bruno Fernandes can play out there as well. So I think that's one positive. I think Michael Carrick has opened the door for him. I think he's worked with him before, and he still likes him as a person. And if it was a dead end completely, we'd have heard, no, Marcus Rashford is getting sold this summer. That's what we'd have heard because it was already Barcelona was supposed to buy him. So we knew that he was on his way out, but no one from United has said, no, he's going, or even leaked it to the press. Do you know what I mean? They've not even leaked anything saying, no, he's going. And for this to come out and say, Rashford would love to see out the 24 months. Again, he's probably money related, but would like to see out his contract at United. They could combat that. And for me, it's just leaving the door just open and just the testing fans. What's the reaction to this? What do you think? What do you think if he came back in? Would you be all right with Marcus Rashford playing for United again? Would you cheer for him? What would he have to do
Well,
to get back in your good books?
the fans would cheer for him, wouldn't they? Because once you get inside Old Trafford and he starts, he's not going to get booed. I don't think Old Trafford would boo Marcus Rashford if he played for us again. I don't think that. Uh, and like you said, the Michael Carrick thing is massive. He'll know Marcus Rashford. Won't he? He'll know him inside out. He, he will have been around the club. He'll have spoken to him. He'll know the lad, and he'll also know what his grievances were with the club before he left. So with the door, like you say, the door being left ajar, we're talking about players. Now, we're talking about Rafael Leao, people like that, who were very, very similar players to Marcus Rashford. And that's another reason why I can say, yeah, I can see Ineos doing it. It saves us 40, 50 million, 60 million, if you're led to believe what
Yeah.
the rumours are for Rafael Leao. And Ineos are a bit stringent with the old pounds, aren't they? So, yeah, if no one's going to take Marcus Rashford's wages, and there's not many clubs that can, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him starting at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like we're leaning towards that. I will ask you another question though. I think both of us. I think you said it there. We would both cheer him on. We would both celebrate the fact that he is back at Manchester United, and anyone that pulls on the red shirt, they do get the backing from fans, unless your name is Andre Onana. But then again, it's not a red shirt that he's pulling on. Um, the what I would say though is that I feel like he needs to do something before he even steps foot back onto the pitch. I think he needs to do either. I think a press conference it might be a bit too much, but he's not scared of speaking in the media to get his point across. He did that famous interview with Henry Winter, didn't he? That was out on TikTok, not TikTok, on Twitter, I think it was, where Henry Winter put that interview. It was a strange place, wherever it was, he put it out there. And I can just see either a statement on his social media basically going over everything and saying like, "Oh, I feel comfortable with Michael Carrick again. I know I did all of these things wrong and X, Y, and Z." Or it's an interview with Rio Ferdinand or Gary Neville and the overlap before he even steps foot back through the door.
Yeah, well, he did the thing with Gary Lineker, didn't he, when he went over, it felt bizarre. The whole thing felt bizarre, didn't it, when he did it? And you're like, well, the thing that worries me now is people around Manchester listening to us will know. There's rumours about Marcus Rashford's life off the field, and that was the
Mm.
reason why he had to get away from Manchester. I won't go into them, but people will know. And that worries me, him coming back, whether he's got rid of the people that are surrounding him being a bad influence on him, whether he's put his issues to the side, whether that once he comes back to Manchester, will those issues arise once again? They're only rumours, so we don't really know what the full story is. But that, if you're led to believe the things that are being said, that is the biggest reason why he had to move away from Manchester, because off-field issues were really bothering him. So that's another thing that the club will have to look at if he does come back. Is that dealt with?
But just going back to my main point though, can you see him doing something like that? Can you see him doing a Rio Ferdinand interview? Can you see him going on the overlap? Can you see him having to do something before he gets back in?
Get him on Fergie's gun. We'll have a chat with him. Come on here, mate. Let's see it. We'll put an arm around you, so we'll get you back in. That's it. You can though, can't you? You can see it. You can see an interview sat on Rio's lawn. He'll be obviously a champion. Him coming back to Old Trafford. I can also see him being wheeled out as look at our brand new signing. He's coming back, the saviour. I can also see that,
Oof.
Nathan. So yeah. I wouldn't
Oh, I
put
can't see that. Oh,
I
that
wouldn't
makes
put
me a bit sick even
a
thinking
no
about it.
straight away on this.
No, not the returning hero. Not after he was dancing for Barcelona. So you're saying then that barring a purchase from somewhere else or like a high price bid for him, you'd take Marcus Rashford back at Manchester United then,
No, that's
baggage
not
and
what I'm
all.
saying. That's no. You're putting words into my mouth there. No, I wouldn't take Marcus Rashford back. What I'm saying is Ineos and Michael Carrick would 100% take Marcus Rashford back. Put everything else to the side, all the baggage, all the past, all the history that's happened, all the sulking. Marcus Rashford, Michael Carrick, Ineos. I feel it works for them more than it works for fans. I'll just put this on it as well. There's not many clubs will pay 40 million plus 300 grand a week for Marcus Rashford.
Sticking with the Athletic and their Marcus Rashford story, it actually came as part of their deal sheet, which is a really good feature that they do. I think it's every week, every few days, where basically all of their top boys like Mark Critchley, Laurie Whitwell, David Ornstein, and all the reporters that do the individual teams, they come together and they talk about the current state of transfers right now. And this one came out this morning. So the Rashford thing was on there. That's where all that news came from in the previous segment. But there was some other interesting things on here that I wanted to run past you. I know we're going to talk more about them on Cropper's Transfer Corner soon. Please do wait for that. We are getting there. We're going to get to Cropper's Transfer Corner. I promise. But alongside the players like Mateus Fernandez, which is apparently a priority target, they're still in the process of trying to work that one out. Alex Scott is another one that they're looking at, and again, we'll talk about him a bit more later. It was interesting that they pointed out the Elliot Anderson deal. They said that Man City had a bid rejected that was 120 million, which effectively now rules Manchester United out. Did I say Manchester United first, or did I say Manchester City? I meant to
You
say
said
City.
Manchester City. Yeah, City. You said
Yeah.
City. Yeah,
So
you're right. Yeah, you got it right.
so good. So City went in for him, 120 million. That got rebuffed. Forest want even more than that, and they want it all up front as well, apparently. But that's basically it for Man United. That's them out
Yeah.
of the running for Elliot Anderson, which I think is fine. I think it's time to move on anyway. You don't want to be running that one all through the summer. A few other ones that was interesting though in terms of midfielders. We know about Carlos Baliba, we know about Sandro Tonali. Again, two players that their clubs want 100 mil plus for these players, which I find absolutely mind boggling. Adam Wharton, again, Palace don't have to sell him, but they're looking for north of 80 million for him. But the other one that came up, run this one by you, Sander Berge from Fulham. I think me and you may have spoken about him before, and I think if I remember correctly, you're into him, aren't you?
I am. Yeah, I like that name. Yeah, I think he should have been a purchase from Sheffield United. He went from to Fulham, didn't he? Yeah, Sander Berge when he played at Old Trafford, a unit of a man and can play the six really well. Played in the Premier League for a number of years. Yeah, doesn't bother me. Sander Berge would be a very good squad player, and he's better than Ugarte. So yeah, more for Sander Berge. Yeah.
We're recording this just after Uruguay drew 1-1 with who was it they played? Was it Saudi Arabia that they played? I can't remember.
Ooh, I'd
Either
have to.
way,
Yeah.
they Ugarte looked okay, but okay in that we'll probably get some money for him this summer. That's that type of okay.
Yeah.
But the other name that was on there, which I thought was quite an interesting one. Oh, before I get onto that, Ugarte and Xerxes were listening to offers for those two, by the way. That's as part of this article that the Athletic have done. But the other one that I thought was quite interesting was Crescencio Somerville. We've been linked with him for that winger role. 50 mil from West Ham,
Yeah.
just got relegated. Ahmad, I put it in the group, obviously. Ahmad said, yeah, it'd be a good signing. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I think he's patchy. And 50 mil is a lot of money for a position, again, that I don't think is a priority right now. But what do you think about
Y-
Somerville now?
I saw that you weren't convinced, and do you know what I like him? I think he's been one of West Ham's best players, but it's another one where you like it's one of West Ham's best players. It's not it's where we're looking, isn't it? But to be fair to some of it, I thought he looked good at Leeds. I thought he looked good against United. I think he's looked good in the Premier League. But it's the amounts that these teams are looking for. And it's United are going to have to be quite sure. It's obvious that Ineos have got a limit to what they'll go to, what they'll stretch to. They're not going to, like you said, you touched on there, they're not going to spend 100 million on a player. Reports are coming out now about Sonali, where they're just saying, no, we're not going to push that far. It's just becoming too expensive. I think the 50 to 60 million is the limit for a top player at the top of the list. I don't think they'll go any further than that. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think you really have to. These clubs are just getting greedy now, and they're putting the players at such a high amount that they're just saying, well, he's not for sale. You're going to have to break the bank to come and get
Yeah.
these players. So Somerville, 50 million, it's very much top end, and they're not going to pay that. And there's not many clubs that will. Like the player, too
62
expensive.
million, 62 million apparently for his teammate, Mateus Fernandez. 62 million is apparently the bid that Manchester United are putting in this week, and they're confident of getting him for that amount or close to that amount. Can you see that happening? You just said about top end players about being 50, 60 million. I'm in agreement with you there, but can you see us getting him for 62 mil?
Yes, I can. I think the rumours that came out of 80 odd million were just West Ham trying to look. Let's see if we can get PSG, Real Madrid interested here, and if they are, we'll push it to this much. I think United have probably been a bit clever in. They did this before with Cunha. You get the players say so of yes, I want to come to Manchester United before they make a bid, and then they enter the discussions of right, this is what we're going to look at. 62 million seems fair, I think, Nathan. I never thought we were going to get him for 40. Never thought 50 would have been
Yeah.
quite enough for West Ham to say, yeah, you go. 62 million seems on the nose, to be fair. Good business from West Ham, because I know they wanted double, didn't they? That's where the 84 million came from, that they wanted double what they paid for him from Southampton. 62 seems to be in the middle of where they're going, and how much he's probably worth in the market. Good business.
The one thing that is in our favour is that there's new management at West Ham now, which might see things slightly differently to Sex Pest David Sullivan and Karen Brady, who no longer at the club, who basically milked that club for every single penny that they could, and never really put anything back in. So I think with this new fella that's in charge, is he Latvian, possibly Eastern European? The one that's taking control of the club. I think if he looks at it carefully, he might see this as an opportunity to get some cash, spread it around, and then just mount a charge. If he wants to drag it on all throughout the summer, maybe he will get a bidding war out of it. But you never know. If it was West Ham of last year, I would have expected them to just stick to their guns of 80 million. But because there is a new regime, I'm looking at it and thinking maybe 62 million might be enough to prize Mateus Fernandez away from West Ham. New and improved Croppers transfer corner, right?
Well, we'll see. We'll see if it's new and improved. But yeah,
That sound you can hear is loads of people just switching off the audio and or clicking away from the
turning
YouTube
it
video
down.
now.
No,
Yeah,
not
sort that.
volume down.
Yeah, not listening. Right.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Brilliant.
What have we got on the list today? So we're going to do 4 players, aren't we, that have been linked to Manchester United, looking at the likelihood of them joining the club. and maybe a little bit of background on each of those players as well. Just a bit further than just reading the headlines this time. So, what have we got? Who's up first?
The first one is the name that's been linked to quite a bit this past week. Just say Lewis Hall, Newcastle, left back. The price that's been thrown around is 50 to 60 million for Manchester United to go in there. And I think the reason this name's been pushed there is because of Luke Shaw had a good season, and he played every single Premier League game. But I think the powers that be at United and probably Michael Carrick feel like that's an area of the squad that can be strengthened. Lewis Hall, 50 to 60 million. Had a great season last season. For me, that's good business, Nathan. I think he's a future
So
England back.
yeah, I mean, he's going to be the long term successor at left back, isn't he? So I think that's what he'll be doing. 21 years old, 46 games he played for Newcastle last year, which included Champions League games as well. 1 goal, 2 assists. Um, I'm not gonna say that's a good return. I think 2 assists. I think if you're looking to be a Manchester United left back, we have got to be looking at maybe 5, 6 to 10 assists per season because you want to be overlapping with those wingers. I would say, and he can definitely grow into that role. The interesting thing for me is with Lewis Hall, and I do think it's likely 50 to 60 million. It's good value, I think, as well, considering that Chelsea, who are now back in for Hall, having let him go previously, have just sold Cucurella for, was it 50 million that they got for him? 50
Yeah.
million quid from Real Madrid, which is, I mean, well done Chelsea for getting that for Cucurella. But fair enough to them. Do you remember how Lewis Hall ended up at Newcastle United?
He went on loan, didn't he? He went on loan from Chelsea.
Yeah,
They paid 28 million. But was he part of that?
but
The money that was being shifted around and all that, or
there we go. He remembers the lad. He remembers.
yeah,
Yeah, he
don't
was part
surprise
of
me.
those dodgy PSR deals that were going about. I think because it wasn't just Chelsea, there was a few other clubs as well that were caught up in it.
Well,
One of the
Elliot
while I was
Anderson.
doing my research on exactly, yeah. When I was doing my research on Lewis Hall, I was reminded that when all of these PSR loopholes were going on, the Premier League had to write to these clubs and say, "Look, we realise what you're doing and stop it." I don't know if they didn't really do it last year. They did they didn't really do it last year, but I think it was just that enough of a scare to go, we're onto you. And Lewis Hall was part of that. The Chelsea one as well, the biggest one out of that, and I know it's slightly going off tangent here, but I've wrote it down. Omari Kellyman signing for Chelsea from Villa for 19 million. Do you remember how
Yeah,
many games Omari Kellyman played this season?
it must be
Don't think it was
zero.
a lot. I mean,
It must
I've
be
not
zero.
even looked, but I'm gonna guess it's probably about 2. And then Ian Matson going the other way for 37.5 million.
Mm,
Some book balancing going
it-
on there, weren't there?
so bent.
It was.
Investigations, please.
Does it so three quick questions for you on Lewis Hall then. Where do you see him fitting in? Does he start ahead of Luke Shaw? Is he the starter at left back, or do you think he has to work his way into the team?
No, I think he starts. I think he would be the main left back at United. And I've said it all season, Nathan. I think we need fullbacks. I think we need two. Bald Mazraoui is world class, though, by the way.
Oh,
Just put that
oh
in
yeah.
there. But no, I think he's younger, he's fresher, he's Premier League proven. He's quicker. He will get forward more. Like Luke Shaw had a good season. I don't want to throw any shade his way, but you could see he couldn't get up and down. So he just sat there, yeah, and did well. And I don't think there's anybody better you can learn from at the minute than an experienced left back like Luke Shaw. So yeah, he's probably perfect for United. And that's why I can see this one happening. I really can.
Fair enough. And the price for him, we're looking at about 50, 60 million. What would be your top end price for you to take him? What do you think
That
United
would be
should
it.
be paying?
That would be it.
Which
50,
which one?
55 million. Go in the middle. Newcastle will want more, won't they? But
Yeah.
that for a left back, you have to say, right, this is the amount we're going to go. You can't just be going 70, 80, 90 million. No, I think once again, the price of Ineos, if they want a starter in your first 11, seems to be 50 to 60 million. And once again, I think that's a fair price for a future England star. I really do. Yeah.
And the chances of it happening, Lewis Hall to Manchester United, what do you reckon?
7.9, I'm going to go.
Out of 100?
Out of 100, yeah. Out of 10. I can see
Okay.
this one happening. Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving swiftly on then. Who else is on your list? I think it's the same
We
person we've
have
got down here.
a young man that you wanted to talk about as well at the World Cup is Bouardi, the Moroccan 18-year-old sensation who ran Brazil ragged, didn't he? Let's be honest with you. Yeah, the rumours, Lille, he's at Lille as well. The rumours are that there are a lot of top clubs that are looking at this lad. We know, don't we, Nathan, that United are one of them as well, but they've been looking at him for the past 18 months since he came for Ayu. Yeah, he had a great game, but I think we mentioned him before over the past, like I said, 12 to 18 months, haven't we? And I've poo-pooed it and said we're not in the position to go for these wonder kids from Europe and just to put them into the squad. I'll stand by that. I think I'm right in saying that we're not in a position to do that. The likes of Arsenal, Real Madrid, PSG probably are ahead of us in that race. And I think more than likely that he will go to one of them. The kid, when I watched him, I thought, this isn't the player I thought he was. I thought he was a bit of a trickster, a bit of I'll get on the ball and I'll dribble. I didn't realise he was this ball-winning, aggressive, I'm going to get in your face type of player. And no wonder, to be fair. Obviously, I don't watch a lot of French football. But when I watched him in that game via Brazil, I was like, wow, no wonder they can see how talented he is. Because he was in the face, he was everywhere, he wanted the ball. Another player we're going to talk about soon is who he reminds me of. I think he's probably a spitting image, is Alex Scott. Very, very similar players. Tidy on the ball, technical, quite tall for a centre midfielder. Yeah, completely surprised me, Nathan. But this is where the sticking point comes. They're going to want 80 million euros, without a doubt.
Well, I think the one thing that is in United's favour is I think they will go to 80 million for the right player, and I know that's sounds like we're contradicting ourselves when we talked about Mateus Fernandes and not being worth 80 million, but this lad is 18 years old and he just bossed Bruno Guimaraes and Casemiro. And Casemiro got hooked at half time. That's how bad he was having it out there. But I think 80 million for someone like Bouardi is money well spent. He's best mates with Lenny Yoro, so there's already that connection there with them potentially like working together. He's always photographed with him, like whenever there's a little break, Lenny's always with him. He's always there with him. So I think he's probably in his ear, just trying to get him to come to United. I think you're right. Probably behind in terms of where we are with Bouardi and where Manchester United sit in that queue. I would say Arsenal, PSG, Real Madrid, all above that. In fact, I'd probably place us third behind Arsenal and PSG. I think Real Madrid would like to do something like that, but if you look at their midfield, they are stocked, and it's not just top end Tchouaméni or Camavinga, Valverde. It's not just those. They've got Arda Güler, and they've also got who's the other young lad? Mastuano.
Yeah. Bellingham as well.
Play.
You missed out Bellingham there. So yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a wealth of riches that we just can't even dream of right now. So that's why I'd put us slightly ahead on that front. Where would you? So you talked about this before, actually, and I think you probably answered the question I'm about to ask you. But you would see him as someone that would start from the bench for Manchester United rather than be an immediate starter.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know he's talented, but he's not what we need in that midfield. He's a young kid, and this is like we know that they want Premier League proven, and that's the model that they want to go down. So for you to just go and spend a massive chunk of your budget on a young kid, boom, there you go, whack him straight in the first team. It's a lot of pressure. He might do.
Mm.
We don't know because he could be a superstar. Funny, to be fair, he has been spoke about by scouts and things like that as being this potential superstar. But to go and do that, throw him straight into the team alongside Kobe Mainoo, it's a big ask for me, that Nathan. I don't think it'd be the right thing to do.
What price would you pay for him then? If they're going to be asking for 80 million and you was going to be putting that money in, or say, you are in control of the finances at Manchester United, which would be hilarious. But what price would you pay for him to be that future star, to try and get him to be, maybe not this season, but next season as the top boy?
If
What
you've
would you
got all
pay?
your, if you've got, is it ducks in order? Is that the right wording? If you've got your midfield sorted,
Geese,
it,
ducks,
geese, something like that, and if you've got your squad sorted and you are like Real Madrid, like Arsenal, you've got your two starting centre midfielders, you've got Bruno Fernandes ahead, and you go, right, we've got Fernandes, we've got Mainoo, we've got Edison, we're pushing towards challenging for the league. That's when you can go and get a superstar. You've got everything else sorted. You've got your squad
Mm.
sorted. You can go and then add an 18-year-old superstar, and you can say, right, like Ronaldo, like Cristiano Ronaldo, we had everything pretty much sorted. Come in, the first 6 months of being like, all right, I'm getting used to the squad. I'm dipping in and out. Um, Potential cup games, and then you're looking at when he gets to 20, he's saying that,
Mm.
I'm a starter here now. Then 22, I'm a Champions League star, and then 24, 25, right, I am a superstar. So at 18-year-old, you can't. 35 million, Nathan. To answer your question, 35 million is the amount I go, and you're not going to
Right.
get him for that. You can't
No.
get anyone for that amount of money. So it's yeah, because it could also be that it comes to United and doesn't take off, doesn't kick on. The Premier League's
Mm.
not the French league, so it's a massive risk to take, um, and it's not a guarantee. Whereas other names that United are looking at, we know they work in the Premier League. You know that you're
Mm.
spending 60 million on somebody that does know what they're doing and is physical enough in this league, etc. So yeah.
He definitely does represent risk, but I think he's worth it. I think if you can get him for 60 to 70 million and you have the budget to do that, I think you go and get him, because I think then you start cleaning house a bit more ruthlessly and you get rid of, like, you get rid of Ugarte straight away out the door.
Mm.
Yes, you're going to bring in a Mateus Fernandez. You're going to need a big squad, aren't you? So if you can get
Mhm.
hold of these players and you can do your refinancing however you need it so that you can unlock this cash, I think you got to go for it. It's interesting actually because I didn't think he was that type of player either. I didn't think he was like a rangy box to box player, but 42 games last season he played for Lille and he only got one assist. So
Mhm.
I think that tells you everything. Do you know what I mean? He got no goals and one assist, so he's
And
the destroyer
7
that we
yellow
wanted.
cards. So yeah,
Yeah,
he is that.
exactly.
He is that type of player. Yeah,
So the chances of that happening then,
3 out of 10.
Buwadi Buwadi to United, 3 out of 10. That's the chances of it happening. Okay, all right. Let's move on then. Who else we got?
Okay, okay. Another centre midfielder. I mentioned his name before. In similar ilk to Buwadi, Premier League proven. We spoke about him a few times over the season because we led to believe that United scouts were interested in him and we're looking at him all season. Alex Scott, Bournemouth centre midfielder. Um, I've looked at him closely and I've tried to do a bit more research on him because I didn't think it was a serious name that United were looking at. I just thought it was one of them where, oh yeah, we're looking at him. He's a future midfielder, and, yeah. And I was like, no, not really. No, no, we're going to go for Fernandez, Tuchemene, Tonali, Elliot Anderson, names like that. But the more the more you take note of where these stories are going, the more you have to sit up and go, no, United are serious about Alex Scott here now. It sounds like they've asked how much it'll take. It sounds like the player might be interested. We put him in that second or third tier, didn't we, of where
Yeah.
he's going to go. I've said he's not the right fit for Manchester United because he's an 8. The more I've watched him, it's similar to Buat. I didn't realise how aggressive he was in the tackle. I didn't realise he is a bit of a ball winner. He's a unit of a kid as well. When you watch
Mm.
him, he's not slight. He is solid in the Jack Grealish kind of build. He's You've got a solid base about him, and he will. I've seen it a few times because I was like, oh, I didn't know he had that in him. He's naughty. He'll put his foot through everything. He will take everything. And because I just thought ball player, tidy on the ball, a bit like Adam Wharton, like can play the six, can play the eight. He can play those roles away. Can play the 6, the 8, and the 10. And I'm not surprised the more I look at him that United are looking at him and really are pushing for it. So it's I I've kind of changed my tune on this one, and I would be kind of happy if Alex Scott came in as one of those midfielders. Yeah.
I feel like I need to remind the listeners or the viewers on YouTube about what "naughty" means, because that is a
Right,
colloquialism
Northern.
that only
Right,
us
Northern.
us Northerners will get.
Yeah,
But
it is, isn't it?
obviously, you mean an angry little sod,
Yes.
or has the potential to be that. So yeah, that's what he means when he says "naughty." I'm inclined to agree. Obviously, United have watched him a few times over the last year, I think, especially since Carl McCauley came in as head of recruitment. They've been down there watching him play. Him, Tyler
Tyler Adams.
Adams, and Creepy Jr. were the ones that they were looking at the time. And also, in the last couple of games, they just one eye on what's he called, the Brazilian lad that's there.
Oh, yes.
Uh, not Evan Nilsson, the other one.
His name's
What's it
gone.
called?
His
What's
name's
it
gone.
called?
He's the
It's got
winger.
you
His
find
name's gone.
you find that while I'm
Of
doing this.
course.
So Alex Scott, you're right. He's like a little tiger in midfield, and he's one of those. I think when you look at what United are looking for right now, they all have a similar profile. It's people that can get their foot in, get box to box, and play a pass. Right, that's what they're looking for. It's almost an all rounder. It's not just this someone that can clean up, because that's what Ugarte was brought in to do. It wasn't just that. Belieber, again, I feel like he's that type of player that just he goes in and breaks up play, but he can't really pass. He's not that dynamic to get up and then do something with the ball. And that's why I think Alex Scott is probably more of that kind of, I don't know, 40 million pound player that United bring in as a squad player to shore things up at times as well. 39 games, 4 goals, 1 assist. Not an amazing return, but he put it on against big teams, especially against Liverpool. Like he looked really good against the big team. So I can see that one happening. Um, in terms of where he fits in the team, Alex Scott, is he from the bench or is he starting for you?
I'll just say Rayan was that name.
Rayan, there we go.
Yeah. It depends which way they go, doesn't it? Because I think, well, I know I said this the other week. The last game of the season was Mason Mount played, didn't he? And he had Manu as a 6. He had Mason Mount playing as an 8 with Bruno Fernandes slotting. So he played 3 in there. If that's the way that he's looking at going, then no, I can see Alex Scott slotting in there quite nicely. And that right-sided 8 would then be Alex Scott and Manu and Mason Mount. That would be the selections for there.
Yeah.
I think he comes in and probably starts, Nathan. The Arsenal game was the one that made me sit up a bit. I know he
Yeah.
scored and he does highlight it, but that was the one that made me sit up and say, right, okay, against potential, well, the Premier League champions, one of the best midfields in Europe, and he stood out, Nathan. So
Mm.
that won't have gone unnoticed from the hierarchy all across Europe. No, I think you come in and start, and then I think you're looking at the likes of Edison then being more of a squad player than Alex Scott. This is something I
Oof.
just want. This
Big
is something I
shout, that,
wanted.
mate. That is a big
Yeah,
shout.
I wanted to just. Do we need 3? If you went and got Matthias Fernandez, we've got Edison, and do you need an Alex Scott? Is that
I'd say yes.
does that make it overcrowded then? Does I know
I think
Ugarte's going to leave, but
when you looked at last season and someone said to you, "Oh, I'm not talking about the season just gone. I'm talking about the one before that, under Ruben Amorim," and someone said, "We're going to get 3 top midfielders," would you have gone, "Ah, no, we only need 1 or 2"? You'd have gone, "No, 3." And that hasn't
mm,
changed. If anything, it's got worse. Casemiro's gone. Ugate's got worse. You've only got really one recognised midfielder in there, which is Kobe Mainoo. If he gets injured, then what?
mhm.
Alex Scott can
No,
play that type of position, you know? Mateus Fernandes can play that type of position as well. He's young enough to be moulded into an attacking midfielder, a defensive midfielder, an all rounder. And then you got Alex Scott and Edison. I think you have to have that magic in midfield. If you have those options, look at Real Madrid. I just talked about them before. Look at how many bloody midfielders they've got,
There's
harbouring all
what
of those midfielders for nothing.
we're talking then. Matis Fernandez 62 million. Edison, what was he, 45 million? And then you're talking an Alex Scott on top. You're talking north of 150 million there
What?
on centre
But
midfielders.
but I'm not spending that money. And if Sir Jim Ratcliffe has found that down the back of his sofa, and that's what he thinks is the best way to spend it, off you go, lad. I'm not going to argue with that. If there's other areas of the pitch that need to be sorted out, then that'll be on outgoings as well. But mate, if you have to spend 150, 160 million on three midfielders, go for it because you're only strengthening, you're not weakening that.
I'm
Who else?
all for
Go on.
sorry, I'm all for Alex Scott as long as we get Fernandez as well.
Okay.
That's my
I
take.
think that's fair. I think pretty much every United fan would be alongside you with that type of comment. Chances of it happening?
Oh, I'm gonna go a solid 7. I think United love him. I do. 7.
A solid 7, but you went 7.6 on Lewis Hall. So
Yeah,
you believe Lewis
I
Hall's
think
more likely? Okay.
yes, yes, I do. Yeah.
Can we take the decimals out and just go with
No,
just the straight? All right.
no,
Okay. Fair
no.
enough.
My autism won't
Right.
allow it.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. Right. And we got one more on the list, haven't we?
We have, yes. The Everton man, I think I love him. NDI, left
Yeah.
winger. We spoke about left wingers, Marcus Rashford. He's another one that seems to be he's being pushed to the front for Manchester United. We know they're looking at that position after the other positions have been taken care of, I believe. It's the 60 million, which is it's funny because all the names that we're looking at are all that 50 to 60 million price range. So and the eye for that left hand side for Manchester United, I love him as a player, Nathan. Every time I've seen him, I thought he's the best player on the pitch. This kid. There was a game against Newcastle away, and he were outstanding. He just turned Newcastle defence inside out, and he's done that to a few teams this year. Put him up there with Gibbs White, who another one, and Malcolm Rogers, another one that said, I think he is the budget option to them lads, but I think he would slot in and link up beautifully with the likes of Bruno and Cunha and Mbumo. I think he will just slot in there. 50 to 60 million, I think, is a fair price for him. I've spoken to a few United players and United fans, sorry, and they seem to turn their nose up at him. Not sure why. But once everything else is taken care of, if we need a left midfielder, Marcus Rashford doesn't come back. He's a name that's being thrown out there.
I think the weird thing is with Ndai is that he's a patchy player. Like one of my mates supports Everton, and he even says like he's in and out of form. When he turns it on, he's like the best player on the pitch, as you mentioned there. 34 games this season for Everton, 6 goals, 3 assists, decent return, better than Ahmad. I mean, everyone was better than Ahmad this season, but I find it. I don't know if it's that likely anymore because we were linked heavily with him in January, and it kind of feels like these comments and these links are being resurrected by his agent, who's maybe pushing for something to happen this window. When I was looking him up as well, I was surprised to see that he played for Hyde United in non-league during 2019 season. So it's been a pretty good rise for him, hasn't it? Like getting up there. I know he was at
Yes.
Sheffield United as well, and he's been at various other clubs, but the Hyde United one was the one I was like, oh, all right, okay, all right, you've done you paid your dues in the lower leagues. Fair enough, lad. I just don't think it's going to happen though because Patrick Dorgu has caused a problem by Michael Carrick was apparently or has spoken confidentially that he sees Patrick Dorgu as someone to play further forward these days. So I can see him playing further forward. He did for Denmark as well when he scored that
Mhm.
cracking goal the other day. So I don't know. And out of all of those, Endai is probably the least likely one that I could see going to United. I don't think he has a natural fit into the team. And I think his price for 26 years old, and that sounds like madness, I think that price might scare United off when they're looking around Europe and going, we could probably get that lad for same price and get more mileage out of him. So yeah, I'm not sure. But do you think that's a likely one that could happen?
No, no, I don't know. I think they'll take care of business in other areas first, and then if somebody comes in for 40 million for Rashford, takes his wages off the bill, then maybe they'll go and add look for another forward. But no, no, I don't. It like you say, it is a name that keeps cropping up, cropping up. Probably is his agent that's saying we're after a move here. 6 months ago, we were heavily linked with him, weren't we, in the transfer window? And then no, no, I don't. So I would say my rating for that one likely happening two, 3 out of 10.
Overrated, underrated. It's another episode of us taking a Manchester United player from the past or present and then judging whether or not, in our opinion, that the fans overrated or underrated that player. He's very excited about this one,
I
Mr.
love
Paul
this.
Cropper. Look at
I
him.
loved. I
Look
love
at
this
him.
segment. Brilliant.
He does enjoy it. He does enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So this player has 232 appearances for Manchester United, scoring 35 goals in the process. He has won the FA Cup, League Cup, and the Europa League. And I'll give you a little hint, he's not at the club anymore. Would you like to guess who it is? One guess.
Jesse Lingard.
It is Jesse
Is he
Lingard.
really?
Well done.
Come on, Cropper. Come on. Love that.
Are you
Hey,
sure I didn't tell you that off
you
air?
didn't tell
I
me.
had a I had a moment where I couldn't remember what I said.
I'm having 1-0 there. I'm having that. 3 points to the Cropper. Jesse
There we
Lingard.
go.
Okay. Right.
So, I'll ask you the question, is Jesse Lingard at Manchester United, was he overrated or underrated as a player?
Oh, they're never easy, these. This is why I love this segment, because they're not easy, are they?
Nope.
Jesse Lingard, Jesse Lingard. Give me a sec. Give me a set, Nathan. I know we've not got a set, but I'm trying to think whether he was rated by anybody else.
I think
That's
he
the first.
I think he was
My
in
first.
he was one of these a little bit like Mateus Cunha, and that sounds like I'm degrading Mateus Cunha, but he was a moments player, wasn't he? He'd pop up with like a good goal every now and again. Might have been a bit patchy with his form, but he'd always give you 100% mostly, I would say, until he started
Mm,
until he started hanging around with Marcus Rashford and the
mhm.
whole and Pogba and the whole J-Links thing started kicking in. Is it that? Is it that? Which one
Yeah.
is it? All that
I'm
crap.
uh, I'm gonna put my answer out there, and I'll try and justify. I think he was overrated. I'm not. We, I have an image of a United player, and I know he had moments like you said. I remember him giving it the old dancing at the Emirates and all that lot. And like you say, he did have some moments, but so did Makeda. Didn't it? Makeda had some moments in a United shirt. So it
One.
surprises me that he got when you said the yeah, well, when you said the amount of appearances he made. You have to be a decent player, don't you, to actually make that amount of appearances? I didn't realize he scored that many goals, but it was the Europa League. When you said he won that, I thought, oh, about that squad who's got right. So he has actually got a decent return there, hasn't he? But he was never a United player for me, Nathan. He was in that squad because he was a United youth player, and that's why he was there. I don't think he ever got to where I would expect a United player to be talented. You said he worked hard. Questionable for me. I just don't think he was good enough to be a Manchester United star. What, 6 out of 10 is where I would have put him. So I'm going to go. He was overrated. But like I said, I'll go back to it. Did anybody else ever rate him? Would anybody else? I mean, look where his career's gone since he left United. I think that's says the whole story for me, Nathan. Jesse
Well,
Lingard.
that's the whole point of this. That's the whole point of this segment, isn't it? Whether he was
Yeah.
overrated or underrated by the fans. So if you think that the fans didn't ever rate him, that's fine. That's
Mm.
fine. He was
Yeah,
underrated. To be honest, I think there was those moments, obviously in the FA Cup, scoring the goal as he did. I think those standout moments when you remember footballers, people that had tidy careers, you tend to forget what they actually won. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Mostly, even I know there's a attention deficit disorder with most people these days, and we're only used to 15-second clips, which is probably going to be ironic because I'm going to cut this up into a clip. But the thing is, whenever you think about like players from the past, you know, can you remember another Teddy Sheringham goal apart from the 1999 Champions League final?
Point.
J- like, but that's how I remember Jesse Lingard. So he had those moments when I was like up out of my seat and cheering and being like, "Wow, that's fantastic." Um, when you say that your question is work ethic, I think early doors when he first broke into the team, I thought his attitude was correct, but then I thought once Pogba was back, I think this is how the paths crossed in terms of careers. Once he was back there and it was all about building brands and Ed Woodward was trying to push it as well. Because let's not forget, they were pushing it from their angle as well. All the people that was in charge at Manchester United at the time, they wanted these players to get out there and get on social media and push their brands. Um, I think once he started to believe all of that, and Marcus Rashford was part of that again as well, filming each other on Snapchat. Was it him? Was it him that was filming the bricks being thrown at the window of the coach? Was it
Is
West
that
Ham's
right?
last game of the season or something? I can't remember wholeheartedly, but I'm sure he was very active on social media, and I remember a lot of people, a lot of fans were just like, just wind it in, lad. There's no need to do any of this stuff. And I think once that stuff reared its ugly head, I think he found it difficult to just buckle down and do what he needed to do. Hence why he ended up at Seoul FC for 2 years, and now he's at Corinthians. He's played 9 games and scored 0 goals. I'm not saying that Corinthians is a bad team. I'm not saying that Seoul FC is a bad team either. But in terms of where a Manchester United player should go after that, you look at Marcus Rashford as the archetypal where should you be going when you've grown up in the Manchester United academy. Even Scott McTominay as well. What have you won since then? So I think yeah, you're probably right in terms of underrated, but in terms of the moments that he created for Manchester United, I do think they're up there with some of my favourites in terms of the goals that he scored.
Mm. Yeah, I've just I see part of that generation of that seems to have been social media. They were brought up in that social media era, weren't they? And it didn't rub right with a lot of United fans, especially the older generation. Like, why is he dancing around like that? And Roy Keane had a few comments and things like that, didn't it? And it seemed to it rubbed people up the wrong way of just concentrate on your football. Just concentrate. And there was, like you say, there was 4 or 5 in the dressing room, and it seemed to coincide with this drop off of form. And then, do you blame the social media side of it? Are you not focusing on your football? Are you focusing more on your brand and the J links, etc., and things like that? And it distracted him, didn't it? Like you say, when he first
Mm.
came in, when he first came into the squad, oh, we've got a bit of a player here. I'm trying to think of what position he played as well, because he wasn't really a winger, wasn't really a 10, wasn't a forward, wasn't a centre midfielder. I don't think that probably helps you, but he probably filled in all over. If you look at his stats, I bet he filled in all over the
Yeah.
place. But that's what he became, a fill in. He was never had a
Mm.
nailed on spot in the team, never probably deserved a nailed on spot in the team, probably wasn't good enough. And this is where I'll go back to, was never really good enough to be a Manchester United player. And that's probably the standard we were at with the whole squad at that point.
We'll finish off then today talking about the Manchester United deal with Amazon Prime. They're going to do an all or nothing. I'm going to be honest, mate. I haven't watched a single one. I've only ever seen the clips of them.
Really?
I've
Okay.
only ever seen the famous clip. Is it Dembele and not Dembele, Mbappe and Luis Enrique saying like you got to want it. Did PSG do one? Was that right? I may
That
have got
was a
it
clip.
wrong.
I don't know if it was in that all or nothing. There's
I
been a few
I thought it
bits,
might have
wasn't
been. Well,
there?
the other famous one was the Deli Ali and Jose Mourinho one.
Yes.
that was the big one. But yeah,
Yes.
so United have signed a deal, and it's apparently the biggest deal that they have ever done. Amazon Prime with Manchester United. But weirdly, how much would you say that is?
Well, yeah,
What cost? Do you know how much it's
yeah.
worth?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
it's weird, isn't
when
it?
you told me, I was like, "He's missed a zero off there, surely if you've missed a zero." But then so they're getting 10 million for it, aren't they? Which
Mm,
seems cheap. I the price I thought would be 40, 50 million is what they'd get for
yeah.
it because
Mm,
especially with United. But I've obviously not looked at how much Spurs got for theirs. I've not looked at how much
yeah.
City got for theirs. These plastic clubs. Um, but yeah, 10 million. I thought, oh, really? Is that all we're going to get? Because you put in there that'll pay for Matheus Fernandez, didn't you? And I thought, oh, yeah, yeah,
A
brilliant.
a bit of Mateus
A bit
Fernandez.
to Matheus
If you're
Fernandez, yeah.
definitely, yeah, it's
But yeah,
true.
10 million seems cheap to me. I have seen a few of them. I've watched the City one. I watched a lot of the Spurs one. Found them fascinating. The Arsenal one, I tried to watch Nathan, but Mikel Arteta was doing my head in. He's so cringe. Everything he does, he's just, and I couldn't watch it in the end. I can't watch him the way he manages the strange things he does. The team talks. He gets the board out and writes mad things on there aren't not for me, Arteta, but he's won the league, so he doesn't care what Paul Cropper thinks, does it? The City one was interesting because Pep's a genius, and I wanted to see how he did things, and he's a bit of a nutter, which I love to see. And the Spurs one with Jose Mourinho's one of my favourite managers ever. And speaking of nutters, he's balmy as well, but I loved watching Jose Mourinho. I thought it was box office. The thing about this United one, which I'll just say, is Michael Carrick will not give you box office. He will not do that
No.
at all. And I'm trying to think who will give you box office in that squad. What I wouldn't want it to be is beige. Do you know what I mean?
Beige.
Is this
You might see a
is
different
this?
side to him. It might be this might be what he needs to be in front of,
Mm,
like, 20 cameras filming him because it starts next month. It starts in pre-season. So
yeah,
they're gonna be starting away. It would be funny though if like Carrick was some, like, you know, huge personality behind the scenes.
mm,
That would be quite the turnaround.
it
With that
would.
in mind though, with that in mind, so obviously it's going to be a pivotal season for Manchester United. I'm looking forward to seeing behind the scenes. It's, unprecedented access to Carrington and Old Trafford as well. So seeing now these players that we kind of characterize, like what's the Diogo Dallo like? What's Joshua Zirkzee like? What's Mazraoui like on a day-to-day basis? I'm looking forward to those types of things. But who do you think? I'll ask you a few questions on it because obviously you've watched them. Who has the potential to be either a member of staff or a player, the star of the show that everyone falls in love with? Don't say Bruno.
Uh,
It's got to be
I'm not going
someone
to say
else.
Bruno. I'm going to go Mainu. Kobe Manu. I think he's just going to go
Okay.
in there and just chill, just like look how cool I am. And he is, isn't he? He is cool, Manu. I love him. He's got that laid back persona of just coolness. Some people are just cool, aren't they? Some people have just got it.
Yeah.
He's one of them that's got it. I think he's got a lovable character about him. He's a bit cheeky in the way he is, and you can see him being cheeky all the way around. Josh
Yeah.
Zirkzee, whenever people say who's the comedian I don't think they're talking about his football. They might be, but his first touch. But a lot of people say Xerxes is like a funny lad around the squad, and he's in the changing rooms.
Mm.
He's one of them. So unless he gets sold, it'd be funny to see what they see in him. But yeah, I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
I think Lisandro Martinez might be one that I'm looking forward to seeing as well. So I think
Yeah,
he's got
yeah.
the potential to be either a madman or just, unassuming, like, nice fella. The next question I was going to ask you, again, about the all or nothing stuff, who's likely to come out of it the worst?
Oh, that's a good one. Well,
I think I'll
Diogo Dallo sat in the corner picking his nose.
I'll say no. I don't think. I think Diogo Dallo's got the potential to come out of it being like winning over fans. That's what I think with Diogo Dallo. The one that I did say member of staff as well. I think Jim Ratcliffe's going to come out of this as a horrible, horrible person. I think that's what's
Really?
going to happen. Yeah, I
Mm.
think there'll be little snide bits that he gets in there that you'll just be like, oh no, do not like this. If the Glazers are in it, again, you know, reason
Well,
to tune in just so you can throw stuff at the TV.
let's hope. So you're saying that it'll be like a veil will be, and you'll see the real Jim Ratcliffe behind the scenes,
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I don't think he wears a particularly like obtuse veil anyway. I think you can see straight through. It's fairly transparent. It's like cling film, mate. You can see what he's all
Yeah.
about. He
It's like
rarely dumbs down the things that he talks about. So yeah, I can see Ratcliffe just basically confirming what we already knew.
one thing I'm
But
looking forward
from the
to. Sorry,
player
go on.
side,
Yeah.
I was just going to say from the player side, who do you think? Who would you? I tell you what, as a better question, who would you hate to see come out looking bad? And don't say Bruno.
Matis Cunha. I,
Right.
he's another one who I wouldn't want him to come across and I can't like him now because I love it. I love his little
Yeah.
Cunha. I love
Yeah.
the Brazilian mentality of the way he is. Yeah, I love all that. So if it come out that he's an idiot, yeah, I'd be a bit gutted about
Yeah.
that. One thing
Right.
I'm looking forward to seeing, Nathan, is the Carrick Steve Holland relationship and how much
Yeah.
influence he has on the tactics. And so, yeah, I'm really interested to see that because I think he had a massive influence on our season last year, Steve Holland. So
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see how much he does of the tactical, the team talk, etc., and how much Michael Carrick leaves to him and things like that. So, yeah, fascinated to see that as well.
So it's a slightly controversial thing, obviously, because United are usually so private. They don't usually let people come behind the scenes. I think they've been offered this chance for the last 5, 6 years, and they've always turned it down. I think Disney wanted to do something with them a while ago as well, and they've always turned it down. So, with that in mind, are you happy about this with what's going on, or do you see it as a bit of a distraction for Manchester United? Do you think that with Carrick's first full season as boss, should they have just said, "Can we just wait? Maybe do it next season"?
Yes, spot on, mate. This wouldn't have happened under Sir Alex. He'd have like, no, get out, get your cameras and get out. Not having any of this because we've got games to win. We've got trophies to win. We've got a Champions League to focus on. We've got youth players to develop. We're busy. We're too busy to have distractions here. And you've seen what's happened at, I don't know if the PSG was on there, but when cameras are put in changing rooms, you've seen at Tottenham. You've seen that issues arise. United we're not where we need to be. We're not where we want to be, and we're still in a bit of a mess. We're still in a bit of a rut. So for us to go, yeah, there's cameras. Let's film it all. It could go terribly wrong. It could be a disaster if we don't start off the season well. If we don't get the players in that we need to, it could be car crash TV, Nathan, and that's my worry. Please, I'd rather we focused on doing well in Champions League, starting off the season well, than cameras being in there watching everything.
I'm going to give you two positives to end on for this show today, mate. And it's in relation to what you're talking about there. I reckon the 10 million fee is probably just to get in the building and do the filming. I think United are probably going to be helping themselves to royalties that come through viewing figures as well. So I think that's going to help in terms of filling out the
Mm,
coffers. I think they'll get some royalties for that. The second thing is that, to your point, saying that it would be better to just wait if we don't get the right players, and if the summer isn't as like successful as we need it to be in this transfer window. I think that adds a tiny bit more pressure for Jim Ratcliffe to get his hand in his pocket and ensure that that doesn't happen, because the entire show will be about how Ineos failed Michael Carrick by not bringing in the players that were needed for the squad. So that's where I'm going with that. Turn the screw
So
a
you've
little
turned
bit.
up the pressure,
There we go.
turn up the
Yeah,
heat on the oven. All right, okay, okay.
exactly.
My worry is
Exactly.
some of this squad are not ready for pressure, Nathan, are
I mean, we've seen that. We've seen it
they?
as soon as they put the United
Yeah, we
shirt
have.
on,
Yeah, yeah.
but there we go. We don't need an Amazon show to tell us that. We can just watch it when they're out on
Mm,
the pitch. Right. That's it. That's the end of another Fergie's Gum. Thank you for watching, as always, on YouTube. If you are wanting to listen to this in podcast form, you can listen to it on Acast or wherever you get your podcasts from, actually. All you have to do is search for Fergie's Gum Podcast and you will find the podcast version. Um, Anything else? You had your thumb up there. Was you going to add something, Mr. Paul Cropper?
No, just no. That's it. I was just going to say the YouTube. Thanks for
Yes.
being on there.
You were going to remind
Thanks for
me
that.
because I'd asked you to remind me that I needed to do that. So you was giving me a thumbs up of approval to tell me that I'd done
It
the right
was.
thing. Fine. Fine. There we go. Little peek behind the curtain of Fergie's gum there. Thanks for watching as always, and we will be back again next week.